Welcome back to episode 11 of my Dungeon Crawl Stone Suit playlist as a demonspawn enchanter of Rue. I had to cut the last episode short a bit. I got a phone call, which I realized sounds quite loud in the video. Sorry about that surprise near the end. Still getting used to recording stuff. It hadn't occurred to me that, somebody would call me. No one ever calls me. But, they did. So here we are. We just finished exploring Kikubukudga's mausoleum. And with it, most of Dungeon 12, I think. I guess there's still some stuff down here near Kirka, which we can explore. The Hill Giant saw us, or no, the Ogre saw us maybe, yeah. But now, we're just going to carve them up here. Our hexes are getting pretty reasonable. Are there any better hexes I could learn? So there's Darkness, which would stack with our Night Stalker and shrink line of sight even more. And that's getting actually a little bit castable. Not something I would want to cast now, but pretty soon I could get it going if I wanted. Or Invisibility, which is just as hard to cast. That's not so urgent because I have a Ring of Invisibility already. But I could go learn Spectral Weapon, for example, and learn some charms while I'm at it to maybe get regeneration going. Your own dancing weapon, unlike enchanting other enemies' weapons, I believe that doesn't count as something that can hate you. Even if you sacrifice love, you can animate, a weapon, then it'll be your friend. But I could be wrong about that. We'll see, I guess. I think it's kind of like an avatar of you, like battle spheres are, and those can't hate you. Okay, so he just hit us with airstrike and it did 8 damage. Not a big problem. So we could quite possibly, in fact, beat him in a fight, but it would be better just not to. And just leave instead. And we're about done with Dungeon 12, so I don't mind just leaving to go to Dungeon 13 instead. I could run upstairs, but I'm going to run downstairs instead. In theory, this is bad practice because there could be something so disastrous here that I have to run back upstairs. But as it happens, all the staircases are right here. I don't think that's a coincidence. There's probably some big vault in this whole floor. Something weird is up. I don't know what exactly. Oh, a bazaar. That's nice. It's too bad we only have 300 gold, but so this is a temporary. Well, actually, this is a permanent. So we saw temporary portals like the volcano earlier, where you had to get to it in a certain amount of time, or the portal closed forever. There are temporary bazaars and permanent bazaars. This is a permanent one because we know that because it didn't give a message about better hurry up and get there. You hear a bazaar. It's just we sort of walked into it and there it is. I don't like this. Anyway, so it's a permanent bazaar, but as soon as we walk in once, it's going to close forever. So I don't want to go in with just 300 gold. I want to have at least 1,000 to go into a bazaar. And there's some pretty good stuff that I would like to buy for 1,200 or for 1,900. There's that Cloak of the Thief, and there's a Pearl Dragon armor as well that I might like for 3,000. So I have plenty of stuff to spend money on this game. But when I get to 1,000 gold, I'll probably check out the bazaar or so, and maybe find something I want to buy more than I want the Cloak of the Thief. And if not, whatever. I'll just leave the stuff in the bazaar. There's often pretty good deals. But meanwhile, over in real life, we wandered into a bunch of monsters. And the main scary thing here, I guess, is the Cyan Ugly thing, and he's asleep. The Eyes of Draining can sap your magic points pretty quickly. And we're using magic for health, so that is a threat. But that's about the only thing they can do, and we don't rely on our magic to do any real damage. So I'm not too worried about these eyes. It's mostly the cyan ugly thing and like the electric eel. There's all this electric damage, but I have electricity resistance, right? Yeah. So this is all probably not too bad. I can just kill all this, and if I have to, I'll, I don't know, draw out power or something. You know, in a really bad. I keep getting scared because the bars in the top right drop by a lot all at once, but it's just my magic bar going down, and it's actually yeah, this is. Yeah, I actually was hoping to use my magic to like jump over this. I forgot Power Leap costs magic. Oh, it's shallow water, so I could walk over it if I had to. But we killed the ugly thing, and so we should be fine now. Yeah. And there's an electric eel still down here, but... And apparently a spider. So I don't know what the deal is with this floor yet. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't want to use this on anything at the moment. It's a weird floor with these, like, circular... transparent things? I don't know what this is all about. This is weird. This is all like a big crystal circle or something, it looks like. With a ton of monsters in it. And all the stairs down here, like... This is... I just know that at any moment something fairly bad is going to happen. I don't know what it is. So far the floor has been fine. But there's a lot of water and glass. I don't understand. There's clearly some overriding theme on this whole floor, but I don't really get what it is yet. I'm not doing a very good job of managing these guys. Let's just get up this corridor here. None of this should be too big a threat. I just didn't want to fight it all at once in the open. We have a lot of potions of agility. I would rather have might, honestly, but agility is fine. So here's a Tengu warrior. Do they cast any spells? No, only like Tengu reavers and Tengu conjurers do. And we're sort of sturdy enough right now to take those out without too much concern. Yeah, I don't know, like a bunch of water and glass, and is this like an aquarium or something? I don't get it. Sometimes there's a vault that like is clearly got some theme, and when you get it, it's almost like a little joke or a pun. Like that ranch we saw earlier that had kobolds that were harvesting hydra heads to eat or sell or something. And there's like an Indiana Jones vault. I told you about the Raiders of the Lost Ark vault. Ah, okay, I have seen this. And there's also like one where you find a human skeleton with a hat and a whip and a bunch of like snakes. And so it's supposed to be like when Indiana Jones went into that like cave filled with snakes or whatever the deal was. I don't remember exactly. And, you know, so that's cute too. So here there's a bunch of like air elementals and ball lightnings. So these guys just, ball lightnings just explode. And they do a lot of electricity damage, but we have electricity resistance and a bit of armor. Not a ton, but enough that this is not a giant threat, really. And there should be some air elementals in here as well as these insubstantial wisps. And the main problem is that the ball lightnings are just making a hell of a racket, attracting everything else to where we are. So it's sort of hard to find a moment to rest. So there's like deep water, and there's a few ways you could get across this. You could learn Blink. I happen to have a Ring of Flight that I'm going to use. And if you fall into deep water, you can drown, and just your game is instantly over. But unlike NetHack, where the designers are like, they think that's a pretty cool joke, in Crawl, the game tries very hard not to give you these like sudden instant death outcomes. It's just not what the crawl developers regard as fun gameplay. And, you know, I mean, there's something to the NetHack style. It's not obviously, what's the word I'm looking for, objectively wrong. But it's just, it's a different game, and I play crawl, and I appreciate that when I die, it's like my fault, and there's some tactical thing I should have done better. Not just like, whoops, I forgot to start flying before I tried to walk over deep water. You know, if you try to do that, the game just tells you, like, dude, if you would die, don't do that. And if you're like, your flight is starting to wear out when you're over water, the game warns you, like, you better get back to dry land or you might drown. And sometimes you're just sort of stuck and you can't get back to dry land and you drown. But, like, that's because you put yourself into a bad position, not because, like, you just forgot you needed to fly. Okay, so we're sort of starting to take a little bit of damage from all that lightning, so I'm just going to back up a bit here to rest. I guess it's the Wind Drakes doing most of the damage to us. Yeah, the air elementals are not much of a threat either. I used a lot of rocks, just throwing them at things to not waste my turn, just do something slightly productive. Okay, deep water. And there are a few monsters that can like make you stop flying pretty suddenly. I don't want that. Normally a File of Floods is great, but it also, in addition to doing some sizable damage, it summons water elementals, and we just can't summon things this game. We could, but they would hate us, and you know, we told everything in the dungeon is going to hate us, and it's all Ryu's fault. So I just don't want it. I found a rod. A Rod of the Swarm. So that's one I don't have a lot of practice with. I used to think it was pretty bad, but I saw someone use it pretty effectively a while ago during the tournament. So I'm interested in like, oh, it's in dark gray, and that's because I have Sacrifice Love, like I was just talking about. So this summons a bunch of like friendly insects, and that's cool, but you know, they would not be friendly to us, so we're just not going to use it. So there was just like nothing any good in this whole vault for us, I think, right? I picked up something, yeah, two useless items, great. No. See, I tried to walk over deep water, and like any moment I might stop flying. And it wouldn't have been next turn, as it turns out, but the game didn't want me to risk that. And I could have said, yes, I must do it, get me away from, you know, whatever horrible thing. Drowning be damned. But I wasn't in any kind of immediate danger. So I just renewed my flight. Okay, great. So now we're out of that whole area, and I still don't understand the theme of this floor. This was like an air area. There was a gargoyle in here. Is this supposed to be some sort of earth area, maybe? And then there was water down here, but where, like, if I walk this way, am I going to see lava? That'd be kind of neat. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though. No, there's more water. I don't understand what this is supposed to be. So it's some sort of, I don't know. There's glass and water and air. Who knows? It's a mystery. But we're done with Dungeon 13. I think we ought to be able to wrap up Dungeon 15 by the end of this video. We're making reasonable time. So what's in here? A bunch of stone walls. Metal, actually, right? Yeah, metal. So this is probably the entrance to the vaults, if I had to guess. Yeah, these glyphs, man. I'm gonna change that back. Actually, let's do that right now. So I'm just gonna go edit my options. Ugh, never mind. So this, I have a different account that I normally play as A Malloy, but I want to have that account ready to go play in the tournament. So I made a new account to do these videos on, yollama. And I forgot that yollama doesn't really have an options file. His options file is just include A Malloy's options file, which is fine, but it means that I can't easily go edit that while I'm playing as yollama. I would have to log out or open up a new window or something. And I just don't want to do that in the middle of a video. Yeah, so here's an entrance to the vaults. Fine. So that's another branch like the lair and orc, but we can't get in until we have at least one rune. And remember, runes are like, you have to collect 3 of them before you can get the Orb of Zot to win the game. So there's sort of this progression. Vaults is fairly difficult. We're not allowed to learn any poison, right? Yeah. Promise Rue. So Vaults is fairly difficult, but it's a good source of experience. And no weapons here we want. But you can't just go in there until you've gotten at least 1 rune. So people usually get 1 or maybe 2 runes from the lair, and then they get a 3rd rune from either Vaults or Slime, which is also in lair, or the Abyss. This really hurts, and I don't like it. I'm just going to jump on this centaur so he'll stop shooting at me. That did a lot of damage. Almost killed him just when we landed on him. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, Rue. So you can see, like, the ability to get from one place to another quickly. Like, that's something that's really powerful in probably roguelikes in general, but in Crawl in particular, at least, is the one I have the most experience with. And, there's a spell you can learn. And, we've got a couple, like, level 1, level 2, level 3 spells, and they sort of get exponentially more difficult. So, like, level 3 is about twice as hard to cast as level 2. Level 4 is about twice as hard to cast as level 3, and so on. And so there's a school of magic, translocations, like moving things around. And there's a really high-level spell that, until quite recently, was level 7, and I guess was, like, just the other day, made level 8. Controlled Blink, that would just, like, let you move from where you are to any other place you can see. And, like, it's level 8. That's a really high-level spell. You need to invest a lot of experience to get it going. But Rue, gives it to you very early, the ability to jump, like, 3 squares. Not your whole line of sight, but pretty far. Far enough to get a lot of stuff done. And, like, then you do damage when you land. It's just amazing. So we've got Roxanne here. She's a... Well, let's look at the lore, shall we? She's a... it says she's a statue. Haha. But so this is actually an old earth mage who made herself into a statue accidentally. And so now she, casts high-level earth spells at you. And she has a book of earth magic under her, generally. She's... and there's not... I don't really want that, so I'm just going to try to leave her alone. If I end up needing to go through there, I might kill her at some point. But right now, fighting Roxanne is not really a priority for me. Box of Beasts is another thing that I would normally love to have. But we sacrificed love, so it wouldn't do us any good. And now here's Rupert. For some reason, I usually run into him in lair rather than in the dungeon. And I'm not very pleased with him being in melee range with me, let me tell you. He's got he almost always, and indeed this game does, have a powerful weapon, and he can, like, paralyze you, he can confuse you. He's just the worst. And he can go berserk so that he hits really hard, really fast, and has a bunch of hit points. Rupert is just awful. And so I'm thinking that I might just drop an Apocalypse on him. I mean, maybe teleporting is the better option. well, what do I think? There's still some places on Dungeon 14 that are dangerous. Teleporting away would get me away. But I'd like to see how Apocalypse does. It might just completely kill him. It might paralyze him. It might drain his magic so that he can't paralyze us anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a try, I guess. He lost his magic, so like he can't cast spells, I think. Maybe it's just like really hard for him to cast spells, I'm not really sure. But without his magic, Rupert is just a competent melee fighter. And we resist his electric weapon. So, alright, we got him. I don't really want to be using an Apocalypse on a single foe, but Rupert's a serious threat, and I don't mind using up resources on him. And like I said, God Piety is something that you get back. And with Rue, of course, you don't lose Piety, you lose Drain. So like we're a bit drained now. We're down like not quite a whole skill level. And we should get that back pretty quickly. I know a lot of good players who would have done something other than Apocalypse there. What is this? Dithmenos. That's why there's all the fog. Okay. Who would have done something other than Apocalypse there. But I kind of feel like... What was that? There was an Efreet, but I missed it somehow. But I find that Apocalypse solves a lot of problems. I mean, it's like some sort of Rue's capstone ability. And the Drain is not that hard to work off. And so I don't mind using it somewhat freely. Is something I mentioned a few videos ago. Using it against just that one guy, like I said, I felt a little bad about it. Great, there's like a hedge maze here. Probably like some... last time I guess not. Last time I saw a hedge maze, there were like centaurs shooting over the bushes at you, which was no fun at all. But I guess not this time for whatever reason. So let's put on my Ring of Fire. Maybe just use invisibility actually. Yeah, that seems fine. Probably better than being fire resistant is like just them not being able to hit me at all. So I mean, it's also it's a matter of playstyle as well, like whether you want to use an Apocalypse there or do something else. So as you can see, I've now worked off all the drain. I'm not drained at all anymore. So in my opinion, that was a great play and it worked out perfectly. Somebody else might have. This is what, our third book of burglary? 1, 2. Oh, let me just burgle. Yeah, 3. All right. Well. I could learn some of the spells in it right now, I guess. Do I want any of them right now? Could I use Darkness? Maybe. Let's learn Darkness. I don't really quite know how to use it. What situations to use it in, but it'll be nice to have available in case I decide to give it a try. I don't need a Wand of Confusion anymore. I'm pretty good at confusing stuff myself. I don't want these Scrolls of Enchant Armor at the moment. I want to enchant something later, but not now. Let's forget this Potion of Invisibility and this Pizza. Oh, I do have some Identify, so I can identify this potion. And I'm going to identify this scroll as well. What could it be? Yeah, there's a few things here I'd rather not waste, and I have plenty of Identify. So it's Scroll of Noise. I wouldn't mind wasting that, but I also just don't want to read it at all. And that's a Scroll of Silence, which is pretty useful. It stops things near you from casting spells for a while. And since we don't rely very much on spells... So it silences you, too. I gotta pay attention here. Anyway, so Silence... Since we don't rely too much on spells to do damage, if there's a dangerous spellcaster we're up against, you can sort of read silence, and it neutralizes him pretty well. So this looks like the entrance to Depths, which is the branch after Dungeon. We're not going to go to Depths anytime soon. It's a big jump in difficulty from the Dungeon monsters. We need to go get some runes in Lair and maybe do Elf and Vaults and all this stuff. But there, we found the entrance, since there's a necromancer and a vampire mage, and all this stuff is a little scary. So I'm in a corridor here, which is good. Ow. He has Bolt of Cold. He has Agony. Jeez. So this vault recently became more dangerous than it was, because a new kind of enemy was added that makes particularly dangerous zombies or skeletons. This is just terrible. Why am I taking so much damage? I don't know. Let's draw out power. So juggernauts were added, and they do a ton. They're very fast, and they do a lot of damage, but they can't attack very often. And so this vault that has undead, zombies and skeletons, it can have any monster that would be in Depths, you can have as like an undead version of it in the entrance to Depths here. And so people were getting surprised by juggernaut zombies, which were, for a while, they were bugged, and they were like way more powerful than even living juggernauts. Now that's not the case anymore, but they're still quite dangerous. And so this vault has killed some people recently. And Gamma Funk is the one who made it, and I wouldn't want to give him, I think it was Gamma Funk. I wouldn't want to give him the satisfaction of killing me. So I'm going to try not to run into it. Of course, the Juggernaut skeletons were added by Lasty, so it would sort of, if I ran into one of those, it would be Lasty, I think. In my opinion, who would be responsible for killing me, not Gamma Funk. So I don't know who I would give credit to. They would probably both appreciate killing me. But there weren't any really high-level skeletons there. There was some tough stuff, but none of it was too threatening. And I assume I was right. There was an entrance to Depths there. Yeah. And we killed an Ifrit. Fine. I don't know. There's a bunch of junk here. So it's nice, we're a bit more powerful than we were earlier, and we just sort of like held down tab to kill an Orc Knight, who was something we wanted to like drag away and isolate earlier. And he's still like kind of a threat. If we run into an Orc Knight and some other medium level stuff, it'll be a problem for us. But by himself, he's not a big deal. So there's Book of Necromancy. I just memorized Regeneration, which is a pretty good spell. I can't cast it very effectively right now. Actually, let's turn down hexes. I'm going to get going on charms, I guess. Because Regeneration is a temporary buff that makes you gain hit points back a lot faster. And it's a charm and a necromancy spell. So in Dungeon Crawl, it's hard to regain hit points other than just by resting. There's not a lot of sources that you can control that give you hit points. There's basically necromancy spells, sort of making your own dead tissue become live again. And there's potions and wands of heal wounds. And then there's like divine intervention where, some of your gods will give you health. And like that's about it. If you want to heal yourself and you don't want to you want a renewable source, you kind of need necromancy, which is an evil spell school, and the good gods don't like it. So Rue is pretty ambivalent. He doesn't care what we do as long as we made some sacrifices. So we're going to get regeneration going eventually, I imagine. But we just finished up Dungeon 15, so that's as deep as the dungeon goes. If we want to go deeper, we have to pick a new branch, Depths or Elf, finish off Lair maybe, or go to a Rune Vault. their rune branch in lair like Shoals or Spider. So I anticipate we're going to go to Spider next and try and get our first rune. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.